Here's a scenario. Your group, your organization, whatever, you've been tracking, inventory processes using a spreadsheet. And it's been working great. But recently, it's slowing down a lot. There's a lot of inconsistent data in it. And when you try to kind of summarize the data in it, it gets very difficult. The scope of data has gotten so large that you've noticed that the spreadsheet now slows down. Plus, lots of different people are using it, so there's sometimes conflicting versions. So it's really becoming unworkable. Your group decides to meet to discuss how to deal with this and how to handle the scope of data. And the group comes to the conclusion that they'll use a relational database management system. It has a reputation for handling lots of data very well, being quick to access, providing much more security. Great! So where do you start? Before we start discussing databases, let's discuss why people use spreadsheets, because there's often good reasons to use it, especially when it's a small amount of data. Then it might not be worth the overhead of other solutions such as relational database management systems. Spreadsheets are flexible, they're very easy to pick up, lots of people know how to use them. However, as the scope of the data volume and the complexity get larger and larger, these advantages actually sometimes start to become disadvantages. If you get enough data, the Excel sheet's going to really start slowing down or maybe even crashing. And if many people are using this Excel sheet all the time, it's very hard for multiple people to access it. Soon you're going to have multiple versions floating around and potentially conflicts. On the other hand, with a relational database, handle much more data than spreadsheets. You can control the level of access. Multiple people can access it. It's much easier to pull out different queries and different types of information. And finally, it's very strict in the way that you put in information. Let's talk about how a relational database system works. In some ways, the layout is kind of similar to a spreadsheet. So for instance, if we look at an Excel spreadsheet, we'll see that we have many tabs or sheets here. And those tabs and sheets in a relational database, equivalent of that, are tables. Like a spreadsheet, you'll have columns and rows, and on the rows you'll have a bunch of different observations. And like Excel, it'll have these rows, but it'll be able to store many more rows, because it allows you to read, access, and structure the data very quickly in a lot of ways. One of the challenges is it's not as easy to use. It takes more time to learn it. And this can be a challenge for some people who might not be consistently using the database. For people maybe who are more casually using it, there might need to be a front end. We'd have a database as the core, and on the opposite side, we would have a front end. This is what the casual users interact with to create, update, read, and delete the data. So they send their requests through the front end. The front end then basically sends it to the back end, which would translate it and mediate between the database and the front end user. So that's basically how the system would work. So I hope you found my discussions of databases interesting. Please feel free to drop any comments. Remember to subscribe and like. Until then, I'll see you then.